for the sky, I'm going to create a new layer. At the very bottom, there's an icon next to the trash can that says here, create new layer. The new layer will be above the grass, and I can now double click and rename it sky. With the background layer highlighted, we can use our selection tools, and I'd like to show you that the quick selection tool is an ideal tool to use, but we do have something called the magic wand tool that will allow us to pick inside a closed filled area, and it will find the boundaries. We also have the lasso tools here to use. For instance, if you use just the regular lasso tool, you can start by holding your left mouse button down and kind of freehand your selection. So I'll do it over here so you can see that I'm just freehanding the selection, and I'm able to select an area with this tool. The polygon tool is more about clicking points, and then at the end, if you double click, it will go back to the first point that you picked. And the last one, the magnetic lasso tool, doesn't work real well, but once you click a point, you don't have to hold your mouse down, and it kind of magnetically clings to your line work. Not always exact, kind of hard to work with, to be honest, but here as an option. Escape and then Control D to deselect everything. We have a clear blank layer. We can go to the background layer and create a quick selection of the area that we'd like to use for our sky. I'm holding my left mouse button down, and as I drag my mouse across, quick select will quickly select everything, but it actually did get the bottom part. So I'm going to use my Alt key to take that out, or I could have went up here. And I do need to add here this opening, so I'll let go of my Alt key and select just this part. Now if you'd like to get a little more specific, you can change your brush size and really create more detail. I can go to my sky, new layer, and pick up a blue color that I'd like to use for my sky. Now I already have here my blue color. I can use the gradient tool, but let's go to the sky layer and then left click, hold your left mouse button down, pull your mouse up and let go, and you're establishing here a gradient fill. If we wanted to add a graphic for the sky, open the sky file. You can click on the move tool at the top left corner of this toolbar, and with your Alt key held down, you'll see the two double arrows there, the double arrow. You can hold your left mouse button down, let go of your Alt key, and then drag it over to the file that we're working with. This is how you could start a brand new file also by using here this concept. If I let go, I've now brought the image into this file. Now I'm going to use a Control D to deselect. Bringing in the sky will create its own layer. Highlight that layer and then go to Edit, Transform. This is where you can edit your image by scale, rotate, here flipping it like I did the Chicago skyline. But in this case we like to scale it, so I'll go ahead and pick scale, and it'll give us the grips to work with. I can now rescale it slightly. Change the layers here at the top on the right hand panel from normal to multiply, you'll be able to see here several layers, and you'll be able to see behind it and kind of establish what you need to erase. I'm going to go ahead and press enter to accept that sky. You can save your selections so that if you need to go back to select the building or the grass again to add more features, it's a good idea to save your selection. So I'm on the background layer. I'll go to the quick selection tool and pick up here the top part of this building, and then I'll go to select and down to save selection. I can give it a name, top floor villa, and pick OK. Later when I need to use it again and it's already deselected, I can go up to select and down to load selection, and it will be one of several in my list. Okay, so with this highlighted, I can go back up to layer 1, use as an option the erase tool to erase the sky from this part of the building. Now I know that parts of this Villa Savoye go right through, so we can leave some of the sky as background in the coloration of these windows. I'll use Control D to deselect, and with the eyedropper I can pick up a color close to this transition from the light gradient fill to the actual sky graphics, and use the dodge tool to kind of blend the graphics in. So I used different selections to create gradients and some shadows, a little bit of brush strokes, and now in kind of a quick way. So now let's bring in Le Corbusier and some trees. I have here the image open. We can use the quick selection tool to hold your left mouse button down and select here what we want to copy and paste into our drawing. So once again, you can use the Alt key to take out what selection we don't want, and let go of the Alt key to define here the outline of what you want to select, keeping a smaller paintbrush if you want to have more detail. Okay, now that we have this image, I can hold my Control key down and press C, and then go back to here at the top, the one that we're working with, and I could create a new layer, set that layer current, sort of like AutoCAD would save layers current, and then Control V to bring in Corbu himself. So now we can go to Image, Transform, and Scale. In order to keep the same proportion, you can hold your Shift key down and you won't have the skewing of your graphics. So we'll just move this into place and scale it down. I know it's a little out of scale, but I think you got the idea. You can press enter. If you need a shadow for people in your perspective drawing, possibly, go to the select drop down, go to save selection. I'll call this Corbu. So it's selected. If I wanted to select it again, it's there. And then what you could do is use that Control C and Control V again. So now you have a second copy. And then you can go to Edit, Transform, and flip it. And if you flip it vertically, it's kind of upside down. So I'm going off the sheet here, but what I'd like to show you is that if you did need to create a shadow, you can use this copy paste and then flip. You can change the opacity of that shadow. Here we go. And in this case, if it was behind, I would then need to rotate it a little bit more. So there is a rotate here. I can just hold my left mouse button down outside of the box in order to rotate it. You could then use your blur type tools to make it look more like a shadow in your presentation. I don't need this effect here in an elevation, so I'll just move this back here and a delete by pressing the delete key. We would still have some shadows here that would be cast by this image, but let's go ahead and take a look at bringing the tree in. With this tree, because it has a white background, you can actually use color to create a selection. So if you go up to select and down to color range, and then by default this invert isn't selected, so you could select the white, and so based on this image all the white is selected. I can then pick invert so that the tree is selected and pick OK, and notice that just the tree is selected. Now I can use Control C, go over to my Photoshop file and use Control V to bring in this tree. Oh, it's big, so we'll go to, and it did create another layer, and you can rename these layers to stay organized. You can go up to Edit and Transform and over to Scale and start to scale this tree, holding your Shift key if you like to keep it proportional. I think it needs to go a little bit smaller to stay in line with the stilts or palati that raise up the living area, one of my favorites. And one of the 5 necessary rules with the ribbon horizontal windows for multiple views, the roof garden, the free flowing space and facade, the structure separated from the walls so the walls can be flexible. This was one of my favorite buildings to visit and possibly favorite architect of all time. I'll go ahead and press enter. So I'm selecting the base and I'll just press delete to cut that piece out. Go to the move tool and just move it down a little bit. I'd just like to show you what happens when you start to move a layer down the list, holding your left mouse button to drag it to the back. You notice here that it's going behind the sky and the background, and now it's on part of the building, and now you can't see it because it's covered by the other layers. So that's another reason it needs to be here on top. Now there are tools like masking that we're going to come back to within the next couple of weeks. So we're going to turn off this tree and go to the background layer so that we can use this quick select to establish a selection of the building to erase the tree, which will be in the background. So I think going up to select and down to load selection, I did save at least the top floor of the villa. There it is. So I can add to that. So I created several trees, copied them by duplicating the layer, and then moved them around and created this selection. And now I'm erasing just the part that's inside the selection by using the eraser tool and a large brush. So as I turn the next tree on and I set it active or current, I can continue to only erase the tree in the selection. So I'll turn the next tree on and select that layer and continue to do kind of a blanket erase to erase everything on the tree. since the tree layer is active, to create here a background. Now this building isn't exactly this design. It actually has a rectangle here that's like a window view. When you're on the roof garden, you can see through out to the landscape. And if you go into the trees and look at this building, you'll see the reflection of these stilts and the trees. It's beautiful. Well, being determined to get this framed view, I copied the tree and then created a selection of this rectangle, and then right-clicked and picked select the inverse so that I could use the erase tool to erase around this view. Now I can change the opacity of that tree to see the reflection through that opening. The other thing that would need to be changed about this sketch is this first floor with the vertical windows. And this machine for living representation of modern architecture should have a vehicle in it, because if you're familiar with this building, a car can drive around and underneath this living area between the pillars and the first floor, which is more functional. So this rendering's not completed yet, but only used to show you all of these different Photoshop tools. It is a fun program to work with, and it can be used throughout the entire design process with just about all of the other digital media available. And we'll be taking a look at some of that in the next couple of weeks. So there is a difference when you are ready to save your file as a PDF or even a JPEG, but as a PDF, if you went to File and Save As, it does give you the option to save it as a PDF. But this PDF saves all of the file format information. So the way to condense it to create a PDF that you can send to someone via email or posting on Blackboard is not to use File and Save As, but to go to File and Print. When you go to File and Print, when you're finished with your project, you can change the printer to PDF Creator. You may have to take a look at the print settings and see if you need to change your orientation to landscapes and some of the other features here, and then pick Print. When you pick Print, you should see a dialog box that looks like this one. For some reason it was collapsed in the taskbar. So here you can give your document a title. So assignment 1, and then your name, and then go ahead and pick Save. And you'll be asked where to put the file. So you can find a location for it and save it this way. Save it by using File Print and not File Save As. The PDF is created and you can post it with the assignment. Let's go back and take a look at text. If you select the T on the left side, you can then change how big the text is, the style, whether it's bold, here if it's centered, and then you can left click, hold your left mouse button down, pull your mouse across, and let go, and you're ready to type your name. If you want to change the color, you can highlight that text by holding your left mouse button down and dragging your mouse across it and selecting here the swatch that would be your color. If you need to move it, you can pick the move tool at the top left corner, making sure that your layer is selected. Then move your text in place. Overall, these are some of the features that you can start to use in Photoshop on your sketches. Take a look at the instructions for this project. And once again, throughout the course, we'll be adding to the tools as we bring in our digital images and talk about some of the advanced features. Have fun creating your renderings with Photoshop. And please don't hesitate to contact me if you need help or have any questions.